Recently, there's been the launch of a hugely anticipated indie game for console and PC, Hollow Knight Silksong. But why are we talking about that on 131XR? That's not a VR game. Instead, we've taken our top picks for games that are similar to Hollow Knight Silksong, and you can play them in VR right now. So Hollow Knight Silksong is the sequel to Hollow Knight, and it's been a long time coming. But what it is a adventure action platformer that, honestly, the level of quality in the game is phenomenal. But we do have some comparable titles in VR. So if you're looking for that kind of experience, but with a more immersive nature to it, then these are our top picks for the best Hollow Knight Silksong alike games available in VR. And we're going to start with Moss, specifically Moss Book 2. So Moss is a game that is exclusive to VR and is loved by a lot of people. It's a game in which you have command over a character on screen called Quill, who's a little mouse with a sword and super cute, but also you interact with Quill as yourself, as the player. The game takes place on two different paths. So you have the adventure that's happening in front of you with Quill, and then the interaction that you as the player can do within the world to make Quill's life a little easier. It's an action platforming game, and there's puzzles to solve and so much more along the way. And Book 2 specifically takes everything that the first game was so good at and rolls it all up into a much bigger, much grander adventure. The Moss games have been so well received in VR that they've actually inspired other games already. Earlier this year, we had the game Barely Escape, which you can see our review of up here. And Barely Escape was, while it didn't quite hit the same high notes as the Moss games, it is still a good, fun adventure. The world of Moss is expanding with a new multiplayer game coming later this year. But ultimately, if you're looking for that Hollow Knight Silksong style gameplay, Moss Book 2 is where you should be looking. Next, we have Escaping Wonderland. Now, this game is more about the puzzling element than it is the platforming, but it still provides a good experience to the player looking for that style of gameplay. The game is based on, as you might expect, Alice in Wonderland. And here you'll see there's a series of rooms, a series of floors, and the player must interact to solve a puzzle in each one of these. This starts off relatively simple, but as you're going through the game, the puzzles get more and more complex. And the developers are obviously keenly aware of this, as they have a really innovative hint system built into the game. As I say, it doesn't really feature the platforming element that Hollow Knight Silksong has become very popular for. So don't come in expecting to be jumping around and bouncing off walls and similar kind of gameplay antics. But the puzzling element is here and is true. And if you're looking for that kind of unique art style and something a bit different to what you might be used to in VR, then Escaping Wonderland is the kind of game that you should be looking at. Next, we have Ghost Giant. Now, Ghost Giant, again, doesn't really have the platforming element that Hollow Knight and Silksong are so well known for, but it does have the puzzling wherein you can alter the world in order to progress. You play as a ghost giant. It's all in the name, really. You have your hands on the screen and you can interact with specific elements to create pathways and solve puzzles to allow a little boy who you're adventuring with, his name is Lewis, by the way, to allow this little boy to progress through the world. Now, Ghost Giant is far easier than something like Hollow Knight Silksong, but that's not the point here. It's an experience that is designed for you to take at your own pace and unwind with. So Ghost Giant does sit alongside the kind of games which make you get involved and make you get deep into their world, but without putting too much strain on you as a player. So now we're going to turn our attention from the puzzling element to the platforming element. And we're going straight in with Max Mustard. Max Mustard launched last year and had a huge amount of attention on it when it did. The team at Toast Interactive, they did some interesting marketing tactics in order to get it out in front of players, and for a short time it worked. Unfortunately, as time went on, they couldn't sustain that level of interest, and as such, Toast Interactive as a studio has shrunk considerably since the launch of Max Mustard. But that's not to say that the game itself isn't a very good game. It is straight up a platforming game. If you're thinking of the likes of Mario or Sonic, and as this video is saying, Hollow Knight Silksong, This is the kind of game that takes that immediacy, the action element of those games, and puts it into VR. It's much tougher than something like Lucky's Tale, or a really early VR experience, which has also seen releases in the franchise on consoles and PC. Instead, Max Mustard is a VR platform game that has been built by today's standards for VR. So if you're going into this expecting an easy ride, this probably isn't the game for you. It is a game that, after the first few levels, of course, wants to challenge you. And then we're going to talk about Ven VR Adventure. Now this game, similar to Max Mustard, is a pure platforming experience. However, differently to Max Mustard, this game is challenging right from the start. Similarly to Hollow Knight, Silksong, this is a game that demands of the player. It makes you interact with extremely difficult jumps and dangerous enemies, and all manner of different hazards that you have to avoid as you're progressing through the levels. Ven VR Adventure kind of slipped under the radar when it launched in 2021, but does have an audience of fans that absolutely love the game. Basically, because of its challenge level. A lot of VR games are designed for people who are new to VR, so Ven VR Adventure stands out as a game that is built for people who know how to handle VR and want to be challenged. So what other games do you think there are in VR that are similar to Hollow Knight Silksong? Are we talking the platforming element, the world building, or the puzzling element? Let us know what games you think fit the bill in the comments below.